There was no way to pull her out. Looked like she was part of the car.
Nobody that I talked to believed that it was an accident.
A motive to kill somebody doesn't mean that they did kill somebody.
Tell me how I died.
Honestly, was so struck by what I saw. So I pulled over. I was shocked by how much guardrail was taken out by a car. I went down to the car. I noticed that the female occupant, her legs started flailing uncontrollably. There was no way to pull her out. It looked like she was part of the car. And eventually, she just stopped. It was terrible.
When the officers roll up, they see a guardrail in a twisted pattern, almost like you'd see a macaroni. And then they see this Toyota Celica liftback that has extensive crushing damage to the passenger side. Then they see two people on the passenger side of the vehicle. One is a female laying face down in the grass, and sitting on top of the back of the female is a larger male individual. But they haven't figured out what's going on just yet, because it looks like the male sitting on top of her is unconscious. Once the medical crews get there, they already realize that the female is deceased. When he is awake, the driver identifies himself as Benjamin Klinger, and he speaks briefly with police. He said he was driving his girlfriend, Samantha Heller, who was in the back seat prior to the crash. The driver, Ben Klinger, is then packaged up and taken into the hospital. The female is going to remain in that location because now her body becomes evidence.
Upon arrival, I was met at the scene by Manheim Borough Police Department. There's contact damage to the passenger side of the vehicle from the impact with the guardrail. The deceased female was observed to be partially out of the car. When we saw Samantha at the scene, there was evidence of blood transfer from her body to the ground that suggested that she had been rolled over. That seemed very unusual to us. As a result of what we saw, we thought it important to bring the decedent to the coroner's office for further investigation.
An interview happens with Benjamin Klinger at the hospital. He tells a story that he's coming back from Philadelphia. He has his girlfriend, Samantha Heller, in the back seat. She's laying down, sleeping, unbuckled. He feels like he fell asleep and went off the road, and he got ejected out of the vehicle, and he doesn't know what happened after that. He doesn't remember anything about this night. He says he may never know because he has a concussion. At first glance, you might believe what Benjamin's saying about her sleeping in the back seat unbuckled. But when you look at her other injuries, sleeping in the back seat makes no sense, because you wouldn't get those types of injuries sleeping in the back seat. My opinion is she was sitting in the passenger seat, and she's taken a direct hit from a guardrail coming in on her side of the car. I think that she's partially wearing her seatbelt hanging loosely on her, causing major bruising in the shape of an S on her chest. But maybe Benjamin Klinger doesn't remember everything because he has a concussion.
She had evidence of petechiae, particularly of her eyes. Petechiae look like tiny dots of blood, and that type of finding is often found in individuals that die from asphyxia. Not getting enough oxygen and struggling to breathe. This suggested to us that the cause of death was asphyxia. And that would not be the type of injury that we would have expected to see as a result of the car accident.
For us to get a true, clear, and accurate picture of the relationship between these two individuals, we tasked the police to go out and do victimology.
The relationship between Samantha and Ben wasn't bad in the beginning. It was just like any other high school, teenage relationship. It just started growing toxic, and she would kind of text me saying, we had a fight every other week, though.
One time, Samantha came into school and she had a big fat bruise on her shoulder. I was like, what happened? He shoved her against the refrigerator. It really put it into perspective that he's physically hurting her. Ben had provocative photos of Samantha on his phone, and Samantha was a minor and Ben was not. So it was technically child pornography.
Ben was taking photos of Sam without her clothes on, and he was sending them to all of his friends.
Sam's mom was pressing charges and put a restraining order against him. And Samantha was very embarrassed about it, because she didn't want to make anyone mad.
I tell the police and the investigators a few days before her death, Samantha Heller had come into our office and we were talking about whether she had wanted to drop the charges against him or not. And it became apparent that she felt pressured by Mr. Klinger to drop the criminal charges against him. When you have something like that just a few days beforehand, and obviously you have intimidation, we're finding more and more information which was consistent with maybe this wasn't just a car crash, maybe there's way more going on here.
This is a forensic animation program that we use to recreate a lot of our crashes.
One of the things that was tremendously important in this case was Mr. Klinger said he was ejected from the car. We could easily prove that he was absolutely lying about that because he had a seatbelt on. You could tell he had a seatbelt on because of a couple things. One, he had bruises exactly where the seatbelts were. Two, he didn't go through the front windshield on a front impact. And the other thing is the seatbelt wasn't cut or ripped. It was taken out.
Using all the sciences we know, no way to get out there unless he unbuckles himself and crawls out or walks out around. And this is how he ends up getting on top of Samantha and just smothering her face into the ground while he's sitting on top of her. And he asphyxiates her to where she's no longer breathing and she has now been killed. There's no question she was killed, murdered by Benjamin Klinger. We arrest Benjamin Klinger at his home. And we took him in handcuffs to the Manheim Borough Police Department. And listening to him talk, it was just like another day. I just remember thinking to myself, there sits one of the most evil teenagers I've ever seen in my life.
We had just a mountain of evidence of first-degree murder, combined with the fact that we could prove that he was absolutely lying about what took place, saying he doesn't remember anything. He didn't get ejected. He walked out of the car, he took his seatbelt off, walked around and sat on her head. Well, that's not a coincidence, that's murder. I was extremely confident we would convict him of first-degree murder. But it's not that easy because there was a lot of information that was going to come out about Samantha that was going to be difficult for her mother to listen to.
Samantha's mom was not in a right state of mind after Sam died. I don't think she could handle it mentally at the time or emotionally. I think that she wanted it to be over as soon as possible. And if that meant that he got whatever sentence she deemed fit, she would do it.
So in the end, what we ended up agreeing upon with Samantha Heller's mother was a sentence of third-degree murder. The total sentence for him is a minimum of 28 years to 56 years incarceration in state correctional institution, and that means he has to serve at least 28.
When I heard about the plea deal, I was upset because I just don't believe that a person like him should be in society, allowed to walk free in society. And I don't know if he'll ever learn his lesson.